Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out to the early morning panel here on the last day of NAB. Excited to talk to you about the topic that we're about ready to discuss. It's something that we all are working on and would love to, first and foremost, we'll introduce ourselves, and then I'd love to find out where each and every one of you is from, and if you're currently using any AI in your post-production workflows. And then we can kind of jump into some questions. But again, the title of the panel is using AI in your post-production workflow to help streamline that process. By way of introduction, I am Marc Gawith. I'm the head of business development at Pictory.ai. We are a generative AI video company, so we help content creators, users of any kind that have existing content. We help them turn that into short form video content. And we can do that with text, blogs, or long form video to short form video. So I will let the other two presenters introduce themselves and where they're from, and then we can kick it off.
Hi, good morning. Last day of a conference, 10 o'clock slot. That should be fun. Hopefully we don't make it worse than it already is. My name's Arijit. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Frammer AI. We are a startup which is working in the video AI space that takes broadcast or television content or any content and makes it digital ready using AI. We started our company in last year, March. We are commercially deployed with one of India's largest broadcast networks. And it's been great to be at NAB and meet all of you and really learn so much from fellow exhibitors and as well as people who've been coming to the booth. So thank you for that.
I think I needed an AI avatar on my thing. Sorry, I didn't give you a picture. So I'm Mike Folgner. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Scenery.video. The Scenery, we started it in 2020. This is our third video editing platform, cloud video editing platform that I've started with my co-founders. And basically, we looked at why isn't video production more like Google Docs and Figma? And I think it's inevitable that ultimately, when you have collaboration as your core, you can very easily share projects, you can share source media, you don't have to relink and ship drives around. So that's the kind of, I fundamentally believe that everything will end up there. It's just a matter of how good is the browser technology to do that. And then on our journey, AI, when you're in the cloud and you're cloud native, AI can be layered into every step of the post-production process. So we have an asset management that's collaborative. So you can do collaborative selects, but you can also layer in AI to understand what's in the video. And then you go through an editorial process. So we have a powerful browser-based NLE that is completely collaborative. So I can work on the same project that you can work on at the same time. And then we layer an AI layer on top of that. So we have a AI chat where you can ask the AI for content. So you can say, okay, I'm working on this. I remember that the CEO gave this quote. I just asked for that, and it gives me an editorial context. And then we have live review and approval. So we're rethinking the production process to be kind of more modern and collaborative, and then we're layering AI over the top of that.
Awesome. I had a chance to check out Scenery yesterday. Really, really cool product. And I know Arijit and we already have some time on the calendar to discuss how we can work together. So before we get started with the panel, I'd just love to see, by show of hands, who here is in post-production right now, actively? And for those of you that are in post-production, are any of you using AI in your post-production workflows? Okay. All right. Well, that's good. 20% of those that are doing it. So that's awesome. Well, I want to start off with the evolution of post-production, right? So I'd love to just hear from both of you, and, I can jump in as well, but what significant changes have you seen in video editing over the past few years? Originally, it's a decade, but things change so fast that's a lot of information. And how has AI contributed to those changes. So I'll, Arijit,
Sure. I think before I answer that question, Marc, I think we see editing as three different roles. It's what you see, it's what you hear, and what you infer. And I think AI has a role to play in each of those. And as AI has gotten, evolved, more democratized, more easily available, you'll see AI playing a role in all three parts of editing, which then helps make the entire process so much easier, faster, more efficient. The biggest transformation that we've seen in editing so far is the whole transcript-based editing. I mean, what you've done at that point by doing that is you have products which can remove a workflow friction or products which remove a skill friction. By doing transcript editing, what you've managed to do, and some Scenery, Pictory, Frammer, you initially position yourself as both removing a workflow friction and a skill friction, which is very rare for a SaaS company. Earlier it was, can I make file transfer easier and then I'll move it to Adobe Premiere or something and then do it. But what you're saying now, for like a news environment that Frammer operates in currently, earlier to take a 30-minute show and convert it into shorts or reels, etc., is a 4 to 5 hour process and probably goes through about 3 or 4 teams. You have a producer who'll tell you what to put, the info part of it. You've got an editor who'll then come and cut and slice the video. Then you've got an SEO person who'll say, these are the tags and the metadata you need to put in the video. And then finally, you have someone who chooses a hero image or a graphic designer, then publish it. What you've done now is with transcript editing, you don't need that fancy editor anymore. What you want to do is that editor now has so much more time to move to high value tasks and get into creative stuff, while the routine, mundane, first cut edit can be done by using transcripts. I think that for us is truly disruptive.
So my last company was a company called Snappy TV, and I'll kind of go back to so I think some of these changes are often precipitated by where you're distributing the content. And so what we did with Snappy, I was a general manager of video at Yahoo. I led the video teams across Yahoo, and we did all the digital posts for NBA, NFL. And back then, nobody had a digital team. Everything was linear broadcast, and the rights windows made it so that no one even cared about digital for 48 hours. And we saw an opportunity with Facebook and Twitter to make it really fast clipping off of a live broadcast was this huge opportunity. Pirates were doing it really, really well, but none of the broadcast networks could do it. So we built a cloud live post-production clipper that lets you take something from an NBA broadcast, put it into Twitter within seconds, and they drove a whole monetization around that. And so oftentimes the post process will mirror kind of what's happening on the distribution side. And so it was all about speed. So social media caught, everything happened. Twitter reacted as soon as there was a touchdown. So we needed to get content fast. So that was interesting. And then the change we saw was with COVID was okay, now the industry was really resistant to off-prem solutions. People wanted to be in the same workspace, security concerns, but COVID blew a hole in that whole thing. So now, people are remoting in and so that really actually opened up this environment where everybody was able to rethink. I can work from anywhere. I can have my team distributed and everywhere. So that was another big, kind of tectonic change in the industry that really kind of drove these remote workflows. And actually you walk around NAB and it's very much around remote. And I think AI is another you're layering AI and you see that new change. And AI has been around, Synthesia has been doing avatars for they've been doing that for 8 years now. And so it's been around, but now you can it's ubiquitous and available. So we're thinking about it as like, how do you layer it in and help an editor do whatever task is in front of them at the moment? And maybe something that used to take 5 steps can now take 1 because you can actually bundle some AI services in together. But I think those are 3 big tectonic shifts that I've seen. And the AI one is really about efficiency, but the creative is always going to come from the person. We always want the editor in the seat to decide what's actually happening. AI is just a way to accelerate what they're trying to do.
Yeah, it's the time to value, right? It's getting to that point of value at a much quicker pace. And, Arijit, you mentioned the text-based editing. That's something that we have really delved into and we've adopted, and it's something that we as humans, thinking about when I first took a keyboard class, as a elementary school kid, we were taught how to type and correct mistakes and words and everything like that. We weren't taught how to use Adobe Premiere. That wasn't the very first thing that we learned. We learned how to write text and we learned how to write. So instead of trying to work against that, ingrained nature in all of us, trying to, kind of lean into that. So, we take that same approach and we try to, ultimately shorten the time to get to 80% of the way there or 90% of the way there, and then put some finishing touches on it if you want to. So, we talked about a lot of questions that I had outlined here. One of the ones that I wanted to really touch on, because I think AI elicits a lot of security concerns, and where's my data going, and how are you using my data in someone else's, video and projects. So love to, kind of find out from each one of you how you're addressing that, how you're ensuring your users that you're not reintroducing their video content into, the next project that's coming out, right? So just how are you kind of dealing with like the ethical implications of AI as well as some of the security and data concerns?
Right now, we are not, there's nothing in our system that shares kind of what one user's doing in their own, context with what another user is doing. We're using, so one of the implementations that we have that's working very well inside Scenery is is our video prompt editor. So we call it our AI assistant. And you want to think of it as a very junior, assistant editor. And so, it'll instead of logging and kind of understanding, this is the content I want to have in an edit, you can just lasso the content that you want to, use as your source and ask the AI to, prep an edit for you, based off of, emotion, based off of what that they said, or if you could just say, hey, I want to have a 1-minute social edit, and it'll go and suggest the content that you can put inside your edit, but it's up to you to make those decisions. And then what we also allow you to do is like save these AI searches or save these AI workflows, because what we found is that through this process, there's an experimentation. Just like if you use GPT, you have to kind of figure out how to ask it. And there's a lot of variables. There's the LLM, and then it's your own content. But once people figure out, okay, I'm doing kind of these things and I can ask the AI for content in this way, you can save those and then that helps you kind of ask it better the second time. So all of that is contained in your own account, like all of that works. So there's no sharing across that. Of course, we try to understand how people are doing this so it can work better, so we can improve the product. But we do wall that off so that there is no kind of cross sharing on that. But again, it's in this case it's an acceleration. It's just and we're not actually looking at the content right now, but that's another layer of information that we can use in this search. But we approach it as people spend a lot of time in our tool. They're in it 5 days a week for hours a day. And we just want to find these little things that help you do your job faster. And so that's one way, but we try to keep that information that you have on your content. We definitely keep it to yourself. And that's one way we're helping with this.
Similarly with Frammer, how we like to look at it is it's a pass-through platform. You upload your content. It's a web-based SaaS solution. You log in, you upload your content like you would upload it to Google Doc or something else. We work on the content based on what you would like to do with your content, whether you want shorts, you want a summary, you want chapters from a news bulletin, and then we move the content back to you. It's completely democratic in the sense that the customer can choose. We have customers who say, we want you to store the content for about a week or 10 days because I may create reels today from that content, but I want to be able to go back to Mike's point, and rework that content to get something else. And I don't want to go through my archive library at that point, figure out what happened. I have the whole set, and this makes my life easier. There are people who say in, out, don't want to save. The content doesn't have much shelf life. We're fine with that. So it's totally up to you. From a training perspective, again, it's democratic. You want to be a part of a large community, which we believe is the right way, because then you learn from others as well, because the model gets trained with everyone's content. But should you say, I want my own private training LLM, and my learnings are only for my house style, that's doable as well. So I think that's where the security comes in. Obviously, we're SOC 2 compliant, and all those regulatory stuff and procedures are in place. Also, it's as secure or as at risk as anything else we do, right? For example, Photoshop's been around for a while, forever. And morphing and images have been around forever. How you use it, how we responsibly use technology is really up to the users and the builders. And I think right now, AI with guardrails, I think, is the way to go forward, as an accelerator, as a co-pilot in life. Do we want to give complete control to someone to say, especially like we work in the news space, and our suggestion to all our customers has been, it is news, please review before you publish, and it is AI. So please do not auto-publish, but that's what we stand by as journalists in our lives, and I think that's the way to go forward.
Yeah, I think that's an important, is how we view AI. AI is not the tool that's here to take our jobs. It's here to enhance our jobs and to shorten the, thank you, to shorten the time to value and allow us to do more, faster. So I think that's a very important, clarification and point there. There's a question I wanted to kind of touch on here about the future of video production. So thinking about how educators, employees, employers, how we can better adapt our curriculum or our teachings to now include AI-based post-production tools, and how can we, as companies in this space, be better about raising awareness for these tools and making sure that people that are in the seats of the video editors know about them and know the benefits that it can bring to their workflows.
Great question, Marc. And kind of zoning out a little bit, I think AI, visual, post-production, we're just living in a visual world more and more, right? The internet's probably going to be a video internet very, very soon. It already is almost there. In India, for example, we see way more video consumption than text consumption already. It helps break language barriers, literacy barriers, and stuff like that. So I think as we move more and more towards a video internet with post-production and AI, I think education and in schools, colleges, we need kids to start thinking more visually. Like, how do I represent something visually? Like that whole critical part of, that famous saying, if I had more time, I would write a shorter email or a shorter letter, right? So I think that's where this world is moving with attention spans. The last Jubilee report that we saw, attention spans are down to 27 seconds. How do you tell a story in 27 seconds? If you're news, good luck. And if you're a broadcaster, you're now telling yourself the broadcast business model is based on a 30-minute landscape show, right? But all consumption, or most consumption, is happening in 27 seconds or a minute in vertical format. And everyone's trying to get that content out there fastest, cheapest, and with the most engagement possible. So that, I think, is where we need people to get trained on writing shorter, faster, and just thinking more visually.
What this makes me think about is, one of my kids. Who went to the party at the Luxor with Leonardo.ai being demonstrated? Anybody else go there? So they had a gaming stadium, and they had a competition where they had two people that were doing AI prompts plus drawing, and it would fill in, what the drawing plus the prompt said. And they basically had a type ahead, which where if you change the word giraffe and then you delete it and put bear, it immediately turns into a bear. And I've never seen AI be processed that fast, like AI images be processed that fast. And so kind of one of the inevitable, and I have a high schooler and a middle schooler and a grade schooler, and they just laugh and, throw this stuff around with their friends. And it's just kind of part of the deal. Also, the deepfakes are crazy, with what they have to deal with. But I think it's just one of the things that I would kind of leave you with is that it's just in the water. It's kind of inevitable, and it's getting it's getting better so quickly. I was so shocked to see type ahead changes. Like literally you type one more word, like bear in the grass. As soon as he hits S on the grass appears. Like that used to take, the 30 seconds of processing to do that. I don't know how they're doing it, but, just for me, seeing that, I'm just like, this is coming at us incredibly fast, and it's coming at us from a bunch of different angles. So you think about, okay, well, how do I use it? Like the people that are kind of embracing it and using it. So when you're thinking about graphics, it's a nice way to go do it. But I think that from an education standpoint, I would say, use it in your workflows however you want to see it, just so you understand it and where you embrace it, and don't let it sit there on the side and then hit you on the side when it's already so far ahead. I see it, they've got vector image AI now. I would use that in as layers, in anything you're doing, just like try it. I would just say whatever you can do to feather it into what you're doing. LLMs are really, if you take something you're working on, make a transcript, put it into an LLM, and then query the LLM on things, you can kind of see what GPT can give you in terms of like, how does it see emotion? How does it see interest? Those are, I would play around and just kind of understand it like within your workflow. And I think I don't know if this answers the question, but from me, I just try to use it whenever I can, just so I understand it. Because honestly, 2 nights ago when I saw that, that is, in 6 months, it went from a 30-second process to instantaneous. It's just happening so fast. And so, understand where it can fit in your workflow, and just embrace the fact that it's going to be here, and we just need to figure out how it's going to make our lives easier and better.
Just wanted to add one more thing, to what Mike was saying. I think it's also important at the school and the college, education level is to encourage kids to understand how and why. It'll only help you use it better. It'll help you also get ahead, because if you don't, what's going to happen is the next tool is going to be better, the next tool is going to be faster. Where do you kind of fit yourself in? And then that becomes a bit of a race in your head. Do I use this? Do I use that? But that's better. I got to use this. But if you know the fundamentals of why or how something's working, even that doesn't have to be a 30,000 deep level, but just, just understand how things are working. I think it makes life easier for you when you need to make a choice.
Yeah. And I think for us as AI companies that are invested in this space, it's also important for us to understand what everyone else is doing, right? So we do a lot of testing of other products, trying to understand what companies are doing what out there, and how can we potentially partner with those companies to provide even more services and benefits to our users, via partnerships, integrations, et cetera. Cause I feel like with AI, it's been the rising tide lifts all boats lately. And we kind of have to continue, I think, down that path and continue to, help work together to solve those problems that people are experiencing. So, we have 5 minutes left. I wanted to see, since we have a really good turnout here, at 10 o'clock in the morning, thank you again for coming out. Does anyone in the audience have any questions specifically? Sorry, guys, I didn't give you a heads up on that I was going to ask questions. So we got a mic coming.
Thank you so much for the talk. Quite interesting insights. I have just a concrete question for those entrepreneurs or technologies building products in this space, especially in post-production AI. What's your take on building an on-device app versus building an app on the cloud? Considering, leveraging local GPUs versus leveraging, a cloud solution or cloud GPUs, CPUs, user experience. So what are the pros and cons, and where do your company stand when it comes to on-device versus cloud?
I'm going to look at it from a Frammer perspective, right? And scale. Like if you do an on-device, product, GTM, the first thing that comes to my mind is your scaling would be a problem. And then what happens is you've pretty much given control to your product architecture, how it is, what the roadmap is, what you want to do, to the gateway where the device is. I think the best thing about the cloud is, the cloud is you build what you want and everybody can access it where they are, right? I think that would be my take. It just makes scaling that much tougher, and then the business models get complicated.
And I think from our side, we also look at it for who we're serving. Like, who's our customer? Is the customer a content creator that wants to, that's very price sensitive, that, is not necessarily going to be an enterprise customer where that might make sense. So we've thought about it at the enterprise level with very high value, customers building, an on-prem, or on-device, instance of our AI technology for them. We have not done it yet, but that's something that we've considered and I think are still constantly considering for the right opportunity.
You don't have anything on device or on-prem? Okay.
Not currently.
We're cloud-based. This isn't much of a consideration, although it's nice to distribute your processing. So if you could do it on a device, I would think about it. But yeah, we don't really put a lot of software on the device. We're going to completely cloud, so it's not really a consideration for us.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hold on, sir. Thank you. So you'll have user input that will help drive some of these post-production workflows. What about metadata from the sources? What type of metadata would you like to see be available?
From the content sources?
Yeah, from the content sources themselves.
What Frammer does is, for example, we don't work with raw footage. So for us, it's a switched video. If you give me a switched video with an in and out, I will actually go ahead and give you the metadata out. So who's on the screen, objects, I can tell you what objects are there, what celebrities, etc. I can give you a headline, metadata, hero image, all of that. From the source video, we're just basically looking for a switched video with audio in it for now.
We look at metadata in two different ways. So with our text to video, blog to video experience, we have a library of over 12 million assets, and we've already indexed all of that content. We have metadata around that to search and allow our AI to search. But for UGC content or customers' content that they're uploading, we will actually we'll crawl that content, will provide metadata, and then we'll be able to use our AI to appropriately match the images and the text that they're putting into our system to create that video. So we kind of do it in two different capacities.
We are very interested in metadata. Because our editors are working on source, so whatever can help them find things easier, embeddings. So that's a big area of investment. With my company Snappy, we took score feeds in, married it to the live stream, and then auto ingested everything. We had the NFL, you knew the player, the yardage, you need everything. And that made the editorial workflows. That was kind of pre what you would do with AI there, but you can imagine what you would do with the AI layer there. So yeah, we're very interested in applying and painting everything that we can that the editor has access to, because it's very, very useful in searching kind of B-roll, placing, and also just understanding what content you have.
Yeah, no, it's a great point about the sports metadata, because as there's more volumetric data that's being made available or that could be made available from sports leagues, you actually could do some way more interesting things with that. So just, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's a valuable thing, and we try to make room in our ingest pipeline for the metadata.
Cool, thanks.
One more? Yeah, we got time for one more. You guys can Rochambeau. Okay, two more.
Okay, my question is, excuse my accent, by the way, specifically about generative AI. How do you make sure, specifically for images and video, right? How do you make sure you're being fair for those content creators, in terms of copyrights? That's one side. And the other side is from us who are using generative AI. How do we go about copyrights, right? What's the industry standard about copyrights if I go ahead and, create images and video with AI?
So we don't do any true generative AI internally. We allow users to use generative AI tools like Midjourney, Runway, Sora, those types of things and then import those images and those videos into our product to create videos out of that, but we don't actually do anything internally. So, as far as like the ownership, of that content, I wouldn't necessarily be able to speak directly to that because we kind of have made the decision to stay out of that specific area, and that being one of the reasons, for that. But I know that's a big concern for a lot of those companies, just from my conversations that I've had with them.
It's a great question, and it is from our standpoint. We're not training those models like that. OpenAI and Google and these bigger companies are kind of leading the way there. And so, but it is a great question that the industry has to grapple with. We're kind of on the same. We don't have the funding to play in that space, so we can give our recommendations and have our opinions, but ultimately the people making those decisions are part of much bigger entities, and so but it's the right conversation to have.
Hi, my name is Amy. I'm just wondering, from the user experience perspective, how do you kind of deal with latency on both like the ingest as well as like extracting the insights using like your machine learning models, especially if you're operating solely on cloud?
Well, we've been going through this for the last month. Literally performance, making sure that everything runs, quicker, faster, for customers, because the ingest of a video, like if you're doing a video we're transcribing that video. If it's a 2-hour video, that might take, 20 minutes to transcribe. Well, in the scheme of things, that's not very long when you're thinking about getting a full text transcription for a 2-hour video. But nevertheless, there are challenges when you have a cloud-based solution, and there are a lot of users utilizing the product at certain times. So we're constantly looking at scale, ways that we can, distribute our CPUs, across all the various cloud services that we use, AWS, Azure, GCP. We use all of them. So we're kind of cloud agnostic in that. But we're constantly looking at ways to get faster from the ingest to the egress, and making sure that the video rendering process is fast, the transcription process is fast, the image matching is fast. So that's just a constant battle that we fight as we add more users.
What's interesting though is so very similarly, what we set up a workflow and then we instrument it, and then you figure out, okay, as people are using it, what's the average duration between the different steps, and then you try to just engineer, okay, this is taking too long, engineer that problem. What's very interesting about a lot of these services is the inability to know why they failed, because AI won't necessarily tell you, like, they're just like, it didn't work, and you're like, well, why didn't it work? There's no like structured error message from an AI sometimes, and so that's actually a challenge, is that when you're integrating, because we integrate, so for instance, you have to wait for, when you're a cloud service, you have to wait for ingest and upload. But if you have a web native format, like an MP4, you can actually edit right away. So there's no wait. And then we just save everything you're editing. So as soon as we have it uploaded, we'll apply it. And so that's a trick that we, kind of like it did. And there's a lot of prep we can do. So if you're an organization where we know that you're going to be editing this, we can kind of orchestrate the media so we can run all the pre-processing. So by the time you get to edit it, it's already there. A lot of the stuff we do, like there's decisions that we say on ingest, do we want to run processes to do, like where are the faces? Do you want to pre-run that, which you pay for and they might not use? But then when you do an auto reframing, so you take a 16:9 and make a TikTok short, we can match faces and speakers. So we auto, jump to that and zoom in and do camera moves and stuff. So if you pre-process that, it's super fast, but then it costs more. So, what we do is we try to just be really diligent about instrumenting every step. And then we see how our customer's using it. And then we just go say, okay, this is what we need to work on next to reduce time. But we're kind of obsessed. Speed is our obsession. So we just obsess about how do you make this faster for editors so that they don't have to wait, or when they do have to wait, there's a cost trade-off. It's just a balance.
Completely echo what Marc and Mike said. And Frammer is currently operating in the news space. And news is all about speed, right? So, it's a constant battle. And with my, co-founder, the CTO, the whole thing is, why can't it be faster? And he's like, try it, right? So, I think the challenge is, how do you make it faster without losing value in the content? I think especially when it comes to news, you've got to maintain the editorial integrity, make sure it all works well. Nothing breaks down, as Mike said. When it does, you don't know why. And it's a challenge because even what we're doing right now, we're probably 70% faster than it would take to do a short form video right now. But people want it even faster. Why can't it be faster, right? We've tried balancing out between using CPUs and GPUs. Processes which can be done on a CPU without losing too much time, parallel processing, bring it all in, things like that. We're trying to make it faster, but cost is always a factor when you're a startup, right? So I think it's always just a fine balance between cost, value, and really driving good value for the end user.
Let me say one more thing because we're plugged. So we're displaying over there next to Frammer. So after this, if you want to see how fast it is, if you want to see kind of what these tools look like we described, please come visit us right over there. And where are you?
I'm right here. I don't have a booth, but
demo it on his laptop.
If anyone is interested in what I've said or finding out more about Pictory, you can email me. It's just Marc@Pictory.ai. So is my email address. So feel free to reach out and definitely go check out Frammer and Scenery. They're over in the Propel Me zone, and go check out their products.
Also, Mike@Scenery.video. Please, any questions you have, I'd love to hear from you, and anything this brings up for you.
And it's Arijit at Frammer.com. That's ARIGIT. It's not as easy as Mike and Marc, but that's not fair. But yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. This was a great conversation. Yeah. Everyone, thank you so much for coming out this morning. I know we had a great party at Omnia last night, so if you guys were there, kudos for making it out. I was there too, but I left early so I could prepare for this. So thank you so much.